Hi, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chantal Odali Santoyo, and I'm the Outreach Manager here at Ed100. Public education is a huge function of government. As a percentage of the economy, the overall scale of our investment in public education is roughly comparable to national defense. Where does the money come from and where does it go? This video summarizes Ed100.org Chapter 8, which follows the money with the focus on California. The big theme of this chapter is that money matters a lot, but it's only good for what it buys. This chapter is part of a larger arc. Education is students and teachers spending time in places for learning with the right stuff in a system with resources for success. Ed100 helps you learn what you need to know about California's education system. It's a free self-paced program. Visit ed100.org to learn how you can earn your graduate certificate. As we discussed in Chapter 7, public education in America is a responsibility of each state. So how does California compare when it comes to money for education? The short version is that California expends economic effort to provide public education as if it were an ordinary state, but it's not an ordinary state. For example, it costs a lot more to hire teachers in California than it does in other states. Money is only good for what it can buy. And in education, most of the money is spent on educators. Lesson 8.2 picks up the issue of the cost of providing education in California. Compared to other states, California has a really high cost of living, and those costs make a real difference. High costs combined with low economic effort mean that California's kids have less of everything in schools. Fewer teachers, fewer counselors, fewer administrators, less space, less, you name it. California students have less of it. Where does the money for public education come from? Lesson 8.3 explains. Many people think that education is funded by property taxes. In California, that's mostly wrong. Over half of the education budget comes from state income taxes, not property taxes, because of a voter initiative known as Proposition 13. This is important because it made income taxes super dependent on the stock market. When it booms, taxes paid by the state's richest taxpayers fill the education budget. When Wall Street stumbles, the education budget stumbles too. Federal funds contribute about a tenth of the education budget. The state lottery generates about 1%. Lesson 8.4 digs deeper into Proposition 13 and another crucial California policy, Proposition 98. These two voter initiatives amended the state constitution in ways that basically locked in the level of spending on education in California. Every year there's a lot of drama, but in the end, education gets about 40% of the state general funds because voters put it in the state constitution. How is the money for education shared? That's the subject of Ed100 Lesson 8.5. California's local control funding formula defines how money flows to schools. In this system, districts essentially get equal base funding for each student, plus some extra money for students who are low income or learning English or in foster care. There are some additional twists, which the lesson explains. The big point is that in the LCFF system, districts have a lot of responsibility for spending money wisely. The state mostly doesn't tell them what to do. Are there exceptions? Of course there are. And that's the subject of Ed100 Lesson 8.6. Categorical funds come with strings attached. Districts have to spend them on specific things. The biggest categorical funds relate to special education, which mixes money from federal, state, and local sources. California reserves some funding for arts education too. All this money and all these rules combine to form a system that equips schools to run. Ed100 Lesson 8.7 explores school-level budgeting, how the rules have changed, and where to look for transparent answers. Do schools use resources effectively? That's the focus of Ed100 Lesson 8.8. School districts are big operations. They involve payroll and personnel. They deal with accounting, and credit and crisis moments. Overall, California has had an impressive record of catching issues before they blow up. This lesson explains how that happens. California parents, PTAs, and community leaders often wonder what they can do to raise more money for their local schools. There are some answers to this question, which we explore in Lesson 8.9. Bake sales are definitely not on the list. The main way to boost funding for your school is to push for more funding for all California schools. There is one notable exception for local funding, a parcel tax, and that's the subject of Lesson 8.10. Parcel taxes were invented as a workaround to Proposition 13. No one outside of California uses them. Prop 13 forbids taxes based on the value of property. A parcel tax gets past this by taxing parcels of land in a way not connected to their value. For decades, parcel taxes have been rare and small because they required a 2/3 supermajority to pass, which is super hard. In 2021, that changed. The California Supreme Court clarified that the 2/3 vote requirement doesn't always apply. If a tax measure is placed on the local ballot by voters as an initiative, not by a school district, then a simple majority is enough. This is a really big change, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. If you get something for free, is it worth less than if you paid for it? Of course not. Not everything of value is counted in money. Volunteers are vital to schools. The California State PTA estimates that its members contribute millions of volunteer hours per year. Parents are more likely to volunteer if they're economically secure, college educated, and speak English, and that's a reason for pause. Volunteers are great, and they are also yet another non-obvious source of inequality. That's it for this quick overview of Ed100.org Chapter 8, which follows the money in California's education system. For much more, including quizzes, discussion guides, meeting plans, and our blog, visit ed100.org. If you appreciated this video, please use the like button and share it. It really helps others find it.